everybody. Um, I don't really know where to start this episode. Um, usually I come on here and I have some sort of structure where we talk about the series, pick apart each game, pitching, hitting, all that stuff, hit on some storylines and hand out our stupid little awards for each position and stuff like that. I don't think we're going to be doing any of that in this one. In fact, this is probably going to be a very short episode as the Yankees continue to just play really bad baseball. Like baseball that if they didn't have the Yankee logo next to your name, you would think this was a team that was, on their way to fifth place in the division. It's just like it's bad. The baseball that they've played the last couple of weeks now has been abhorrent. And so when it's that bad, it is tough to want to discuss things. It's tough to want to talk about things. And also when it's that bad, it's very, very easy for us as fans who we're all emotional as much as we want to say that maybe some fans are, less emotional. Some fans are more intelligent than others. Some fans are more passionate. Some fans have more of an even keel. We all do get emotionally attached and sometimes let that get the better of us. So I don't want to drag this episode on for too long before that becomes a part of this episode. And I really want to try to keep this thing not positive, but just even keel. All right. Because the New York Yankees, who got off to this really, really good start in the season for the first 2 months, they were playing, over 600 ball. They had first place in the division for a little bit, and they were hitting home runs, and they were getting on base, and they had arguably the best starting pitching staff in baseball and the deepest roster in the league outside of maybe LAD. And then, a couple injuries start trickling in, and soon enough, you get the Aaron Judge one. And you get the Max Fried one, and you get the Trent Grisham one, and all of a sudden, Stanton's down, and I know none of this is in order, but all these guys go down, and all of a sudden, a team that was playing so well for 2.5 months, because there was that stretch there, they played very well without Aaron Judge and change, and they were just playing really well, and all of a sudden, the injuries eventually caught up to them, and they lose a series to the Reds. They drop the first game to Detroit. My camera's not in focus. I'm going to try to fix that as we're recording here. They get swept at Fenway Park. They get swept against the Tigers. And as I am speaking, they're about to drop 2 out of 3 to the Minnesota Twins, where I turned that game off a little bit ago. It was 6-0. I don't know what it's up to now. And they're not hitting. They are not getting on base. They're not hitting for power. They are not playing any type of good defense. Their starting pitching has completely crashed. Their bullpen arguably has been the best part of the team of late. But even then, there are certain guys that are supposed to be big pieces to this bullpen, like Camille Doval, who's just worse and worse every time he goes out there. And he's starting to remind everybody of Devin Williams. So it's really bad. And, I don't know what their win percentage is during this stretch. They lost 7 in a row, then they won. Now they lost 2 in a row again. Like, it's just been bad. In the past, I probably would jump on here and immediately, start screaming all the buzzwords and just fire this guy, trade that guy, Boone, Cashman, Howe, all the stuff. I like to think that to some degree. I have matured. And as I sit here now, I am taking the... Listen, it's okay to be concerned, but I'm trying to take the route that's a little bit more reasonable. And it's a route that has truth in it. And the truth is that the New York Yankees, even after this loss, if they drop this game, are still 49-40. That is a win percentage that would probably get them a pace for 89 wins, if I'm correct off the top of my head. And in this American League landscape, what you need to do to get into the playoffs as a wild card team probably just need to be a 500 team. That's probably like 82, 83-ish wins. So the Yankees, at their absolute worst, have tanked their season record to an 89 win pace. I think it's safe to say, I mean, we can knock on wood because 2023 did happen, that this team will make the postseason. I'm not there where I'm concerned about that even remotely. Now we start talking about the division hopes, because that was what this team was supposed to be competing for at the start of the season. Entering the season, it was all about, let's take the division again. The Toronto Blue Jays had their Cinderella run last year, ended up losing. It didn't even matter. They're back to what they usually are this year, or they're just not that great. And all of a sudden, this stupid, scrappy team from Tampa Bay, Florida is now in the mix, and they're more in the mix, and they're on this hot streak. And right when the Yankees start to tank their season with the injuries and the underachieving, the Tampa Bay Rays start to get hot again. And all of a sudden, you're looking at an American League East division where, pull it up on my phone to see how far this deficit has gone now, where the Yankees are, if they lose today, 6 games back in the loss column. So I'm going to try to be as level-headed as I can. And when I say level-headed, I don't just mean not flipping out. Level-headed can also mean not being too optimistic, just for the sake of being an optimistic fan. I would be lying to you if I said I still think the Yankees are the favorites to win the American League East. I think that has started to shift toward Tampa Bay, especially after the Judge stuff. I still think the Yankees can win the East. I still think that's very possible. And my gosh, do they have an opportunity ahead of them with 4 games at Tropicana Field this week. But just given all that's going on, I do think the American League East is more likely to end up in Tampa Bay's hand than it is the Yankees. Now, is it that much more likely? Is it slightly better odds? Whatever. That's going to be the tough part. But we are sitting here and we're talking about a Yankees team that's playing the worst baseball of their season again, and they're 9 games above 500, and it's July 5th. Okay, so we have a little bit less than half of a season to go in a very weak league where the Yankees, with half a season to go, are just 6 games back. It's not easy, but that is also definitely not impossible. I am less worried about the Yankees never winning again and continuing to play this level of baseball, because this has gotten to be so bad and so ugly and so abominable to where that's just an unsustainable thing. It's never going to be this bad for long. But my concern is less about the wins and losses right now, because any sane individual knows the Yankees will eventually, at some time soon, run off 4 or 5 whatever wins in a row again. And let me just say, before I do start talking about the injuries, I don't think it's fair to say the Yankees are only losing a lot during this stretch because Judge, Fried, Stanton, etc. are injured, which is very true. That's a big significant reason for this. But you're also looking at a lineup where all of a sudden this year, after having a really good career season last year where he broke out for 30-30 and he had an OPS over 810, all of a sudden Jazz Chisholm's OPS has dropped 100 points this season. And he's been very mediocre at the plate. And all of a sudden Austin Wells, who was, despite popular belief, who was a fine average to slightly below average, but pretty average as a catcher hitter. He was a 700 plus OPS bat for 2-3 years there. All of a sudden, he has become the worst hitter in Major League Baseball. So I do think that is also a big contributor to why this Yankee lineup is not producing anymore, as well as the injuries to key pieces. Now, that said, again, you've got about 3 months to play. This Yankees team has shown us over and over that there is no quit. How many times have we seen them either complete a comeback or score enough runs to make it interesting late in the innings? They're very capable of doing that in any given game when they're off. And so there will be games when they're off and they still win. And there will be games when they're hot and they still win. So I still think they're going to win enough games to get to the postseason. But my concern, my big concern here is that once we get there, and I'm knocking on wood again, but once we get there, I just hope that everything goes the way that we all want it to go. Where Aaron Judge is back and he is close to peak form by October. And Max Fried's arm is okay, and he's in peak form by then. And Giancarlo Stanton is okay, and Garrett Cole has built up and gotten comfortable and into a rhythm by then. That's the thing I'm most concerned about, because those 4 guys right there, those 4 guys are such important pieces to the order, right? Aaron Judge, that does not need to be said. He's the best hitter on the planet when he's healthy. Giancarlo Stanton he's supposed to be that second big right-handed power bat in the order, which they are desperately lacking right now, as you're seeing Bellinger and Rice and Jazz all struggle as the Yankees have seen more lefties lately. Stanton's importance is being exposed. Max Fried was the ace of the staff last year. He's one of the better pitchers in baseball. That's a big deal. You need him right. These are important pieces. Garrett Cole, you need him to get right by October. He looks good. He looks healthy. The stuff is there, but he's been up and down, and you hope that eventually steadies out. That's where I'm concerned. I'm not concerned about the Yankees never winning another game and this and that. I still think the division is in play, as I said again and again. But I'm looking big picture, and I'm starting to get a little more concerned about the Aaron Judge, Max Fried, Garrett Cole, Giancarlo Stanton of it all. Because that's a lot of guys right there, and it just doesn't feel the most optimistic to say that all 4 of those guys will be just fine in time for October. I'm not a doctor. I've never been close to being a doctor. But I just hope that we start to get some more positive updates, and we've gotten some good things. I think Max Fried threw today, and Aaron Judge is kind of more, we'll see. I don't hear a damn thing about Stanton these days, but that's where I am. So I could come on here and start talking about the series and talk about how on Friday the Yankees won and Cole looked good, and the Yankees produced some runs, and Ben Rice went deep, and Grisham went deep in his return, and that was on Friday, and Saturday obviously was 11-4. It was very difficult to get into that game and be very invested, given who was starting on the mound for the Yankees. It was a little bit disgraceful to kind of punt a game on July 4th, where everyone was excited, especially coming off a losing streak. You finally get a win, but you didn't really have anybody else to start. Except for maybe Yarbrough. But if we're talking about Yarbrough versus Brandon Beck, what are we doing? But Beck was out there. He had zero command. Everything was middle of the plate. got some whiffs later in the game with a slider, but giving up rockets throughout the game. And the Yankee bats did their thing, and they made it close, and they kept the Yankees in it. But of course, the Yankee pitching and the bullpen ruined everything. And it was also a tough night defensively. And of course, that happened again today, where the Yankees, again, I don't know what the score is now. It was 6-0 last I checked, but they're not playing good defense. Weathers didn't pitch that good. And they're not producing runs. So that's my take on the series in a vacuum, but basically just wanted to come on here for 15 minutes and talk about the state of the team, because I'm not giving up. I don't think anybody with a brain should be giving up. If you are a Yankees fan, you should know better. For my Knicks fans out there, the Knicks went through a very, very similar stretch where they lost a bunch of games. I think they went 2-9 for a stretch there. Guys were banged up. Guys were injured. And it looked bad. The Knicks ended up winning the NBA Finals, if you haven't been able to tell by now. So it's not over. The season's not close to being over. We are just past the middle of the season. But things are getting a little bit more concerning. And there is still light at the end of the tunnel here. So I do appreciate anybody who has tuned in to these 15 minutes of slop. I don't really have notes in front of me. I kind of just wanted to do it off the top of my head in this one. But I very, very much appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you. And let's hope this team gets hot, because I still think they're very capable of doing so. And it's listen, a lot of people are looking at this upcoming series and they're terrified. They're at the Trop for 4. Division could slip away. I'm looking at it as an opportunity, man. You've got a huge opportunity to get right back into this race. And if the Yankees can go out there, and I would love for them to take 3 out of the 4, if they could do something like that, then all of a sudden we're talking about a team that's right in the thick of it again, and the vibes are high. So things can change for the better. Things can change for the worse. We'll see what happens. Again, I very much appreciate you all tuning in, and I'll see you very soon. Go Yankees.